evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. I'm the Nighthawk, along with our studio engineer, Zach, and on the panel tonight, my old pal of 5 decades, Duke Forrest. And Duke, I've done a show with you in 3 weeks. Of course, we didn't do an Independence Day show last week, but so I think I actually golfed with you in the interim.
I hate to tell you, I did a solo show. I hope that didn't. I think I told you when you last left me, Duke, have you got anybody? I said, nope, not right now.
So 2 weeks ago, you went solo?
Solo show, hung in for about an hour, 15 minutes.
Okay, that's, wow.
Our regular caller, Mr. Bobby, was good enough to
bail you out
come through for about a half hour or so.
Yeah.
Solo show. So I've tortured people, my apologies, but what can you do?
You know, it's tough, especially this time of the year, being on as early as we are. You know, I suspect a lot of people are outside doing summery stuff. Yeah. I mean, we literally this weekend will be half done summer.
I was just thinking today as I kayak courtesy you guys around Burden Island. Yeah, heading into midsummer, I guess.
Already. Lake water temp, I did all the stats today, 74 degrees.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
And it was up 76 degrees a few days ago, actually.
Yeah, it's great
and
water.
The water level, as of yesterday, 97.27.
It's gone down pretty sharply.
Yeah. So
but still, at your beach, at least still a whole lot better than it was at the end of last summer.
I agree. I was at the lake yesterday and Monday, and I mean, there's some seaweed or whatever in it, but it's better shape this year than it was last year.
Yeah, we had great swimming. I was with my kid today. We kayaked around Burden Island, had a fine lunch at the Burden Island Bistro. If you're looking for a good food, my old friend Juanita's been doing the food concession there for a long time. It's a very, very good sandwiches and stuff.
So you and your kid kayak out to Burden Island and have lunch?
Out to Burden, had lunch, and then kayak to Eagle Bay, which is just kind of past the campground as you're going around Burden Island, and then kayaked around the whole island.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it was a pleasure jumping in Lake Champlain. As you know, I was in the Caribbean last week.
Yeah.
Stay out of the Caribbean this time.
Fucking close to 990.
Yeah, and it's the sun rays are a lot more intense because I think you're closer to the sun just by the position of the earth.
The farther south.
By swimming in the ocean, and that's one thing you and I have in common. We love to swim in the ocean. I don't care what part of the world. Yeah. It was like jumping in a bathtub.
Is that right?
Yeah. So when I jumped in Lake Champlain, it's like, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. Travel, and you've traveled a fair amount yourself. Vermont ain't too bad of a place to vacation in. I mean, Burden Island. Yeah, I mean, just that area, that Kilcare, is just a beautiful area. And I know a lot of folks have swimming pools, but I'm the nature boy. I love being out in the lake or the ocean.
Yeah. In my old newspaper writing column days, those late days, I would typically do like a summer column. But to me, if there's a better outing than going out to Burden Island, either kayaking out or taking the Island Runner ferry. Yeah. I mean, the food concession's excellent. Plenty of room out there. You can rent bikes out there now. Mm-hmm. It's a great outing.
What's a ferry cost to jump on?
I think the ferry. I haven't done the ferry yet. I've been kayaking out there, but I think it's an $8 round trip for day use people. More, I think, if you're camping out there and bringing supplies. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think it's an $8 round trip.
Yeah. So I mentioned.
Plus day use, typically $4 day use for the park if you're not old like me and I should mention that again, a Green Mountain passport. Talk about the best deal. I think you have to be 62. Go down to your town clerk's office, $2, unless the price has gone up. That gets you into state parks, state historic sites, free for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Talk about a good deal.
Well, there's very few good things I can say about getting old.
Yeah, that would be one of them.
One is hitting off the senior tees golfing, and that would probably be another one. So, so baseball, much to talk about. Nothing to do with the All-Star game, but your old friend.
Which of course you didn't.
I haven't watched an All-Star game in at least 35 years.
I watched a little. I watched a couple innings.
Yeah,
watched a little bit of it.
I told someone yesterday I'd rather watch an exhibition game in March than I would the All-Star. But your old friend Tyler Thornburg was released today.
Did they let him go?
Yeah.
No, was that the Travis Shaw trade?
That indeed was the Travis Shaw trade.
What a talk about maybe one of their worst trades.
Yeah.
How could there be a worse trade?
He was acquired back in December 16 from the Brewers for Travis Shaw and a couple prospects, and during his career with the Red Sox, total of 42 2/3 inning of relief in 3 years in the organization, 6.54 ERA. This year, 7.71 through 18 2/3 innings.
Mark my words, somebody, of course, will pick him up somewhere, and he'll pitch decently for the next team he pitches for.
I mean, look at the Washington Nationals. They've picked up Fernando Rodney.
Oh, yeah.
They've picked up Brad Boxberger. They've picked up Johnny Venters. So they're just picking up retreads.
Yeah.
So now the aforementioned Travis Shaw. Now he's been hurt this year.
Oh, yeah.
So his stats, he hasn't played that much. His stats aren't that good. But 17 and 18, 2 full seasons. 17, Duke, hit 273, 31 home runs, 101 RBIs. Last year, 32 home runs, 86 RBIs.
Yeah.
So that,
although not that they'd have a place for third base. I mean, there have been some. I almost wore a Red Sox shirt tonight. Didn't quite do it, but some bright spots. And boy, Rafael Devers looks like one of your top young offensive players in the game. I think his defense has even kicked up a bit.
He's improving.
This guy is a player.
All of what, 22 years of age? Yeah. And I said it almost every week on this show that between Bogarts and Devers, you let Mr. Betts toil with you.
Yeah.
But quite frankly,
I'm not sure he's looking at megabucks at the moment, is he?
He hasn't had that good of a year. He didn't make the All-Star team either. MVP last year, and he's got 1 year after this season left on his contract, and surely the Sox are not.
They're not going to give him megabucks. I don't think.
And boy, did I made so many copies. Bryce Harper. Also,
of course, Bryce Harper also did not make the All-Star.
And the irony there was a lot of the publicity had Bryce Harper in his Phillies uniform for posters and stuff, just assuming he was going to make it. But I don't have his stats, but I know for a fact he's hitting 253.
Really?
Now, that's after hitting 249 last year.
Consistent.
Average not as important as what we thought it was back when we were kids.
He does get a ton of walks.
He gets a ton of walks. He's on line right now, Duke, for 189 strikeouts.
Wow.
16 home runs, 53 RBIs. So he's on pace for 29 home runs, 100. Was it 60?
They're a little past half a season.
Yeah. So he's on line for 29 home runs. Not good enough. Now, I'll give you a good example.
And they got 12 more years.
Three players in the National League right now that already have 30-plus home runs. The rookie phenom, Peter Alonso, first baseman of the Mets, has 30. Either Cody Bellinger or Christian Yelich has 30, and the other guy has 31 home runs.
Wow.
I mean, Harper for getting, give or take $30 million a year in a small ballpark like that, minimum 40 home runs. And the way the ball is flying this year, which kind of segues me into the next thing. Justin Verlander criticized MLB about the baseballs.
Really? Of course, MLB is denying it.
Denying it. Well, lo and behold, and I didn't read the article, I'm on the internet, and he got called into the principal's office with two major league executives, one being Joe Torre and the other former manager Jim Leland, who works for Major League. And they undressed him, and it was more than a short, casual conversation. And I'm sure they were belittling him, saying, you're just denigrating the sport. You're getting paid good money. But
if it's not the ball, what is going on?
Well, let me tell you something. The Yanks, right before the All-Star break, they had a 31-game home streak that was broken by the Mets.
Right? Is that right?
They lost 4-2. Now, they play in a small ballpark. You hit left-handed? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I'm a natural righty, but in softball I hit left-handed.
Right, that's my recollection. I would say, probably, if you're getting batting practice, you might be able to put one out in right field in Yankee Stadium. Okay, so it's not an overly big deal when I say they have 31 straight games of home runs. Now, the Washington Nationals, I look at the team, well balanced, but there's no sluggers on that team. Dude, they've set a team record at this point. Leading up to Friday's game, they have 21 straight games with home runs. And I saw a headline today, home runs are ruining baseball.
Yeah.
And could not agree with that statement anymore.
I hate to see a ton of homers.
It's just.
I mean, what about the Red Sox-Yankee 2-game series in London? That was pretty impressive.
I didn't even put that note there, but what a joke. And I think dead center Duke was 385 feet.
Is that right?
They're making a mockery of the game, and they literally had softball scores.
Yeah, unreal. I mean, the Red Sox score, 20 runs in 2 games and still lose both games?
Yeah. So, I don't know what they're going to do because
do you think it is the ball of your red stuff? Is there some?
I've read stuff where the usual suspects. The laces are tighter and all that, and the baseballs are more glossy.
I think a lot of it is the hitters, though. I mean, it's okay. There's no penalty about striking out anymore. So go up and try to hit a homer. If you strike out every 3rd or 4th time up, no big deal. Just make sure you hit a homer every 4th or 5th game.
I think what I might do on a rainy day is maybe do research of guys that we know, like a Carl Yastrzemski, back in the 60s, because we brought up before 1941.
With Joe DiMaggio,
when Joe
DiMaggio
had the 56-game hitting streak, he struck out 34 times the whole season. Okay, these guys literally are striking out 34 times a month.
And probably those 34, 39 times, right? He probably felt a little embarrassed even when he walked back to the dugout. There's no shame.
No, not at all. So just a brief kudos to the Washington Nats that were being besmirched. What a horrible start they had for the first 6 weeks of the season. Well, this last 6 weeks, they've gone 28-11.
Really?
Okay. If season ended tonight, we're the first wild card team.
Oh, really?
So it's just been
That's
incredible turnaround. And the Braves are up by like 6 games, and we were up 8-4 in the 7th inning, second game of the series, and lost it. And I can't remember the 3rd game, we lost it. But if we would have won those games that we should have, would be like 2 games out of first place. But the Atlanta Braves, Duke, are just a very nice young ball club. Just a ton of super talent on that team.
Red Sox played a little better at the end, although I should quickly add that the last team they played was Detroit. Talk about a pathetic excuse of a team. I mean, there's some just horrible teams out there. Too bad. Detroit, a pretty good baseball town, Comerica Park, a nice park. What a pathetic excuse of a team.
They're the 3rd worst team in the American League. Talk about some bad teams. Baltimore, 27-62, 303 winning percentage. KC Royals, 30-61, a 330 winning percentage. The aforementioned the Tigers, 28-57, 329. It's just really, really bad. And the Yanks have a comfortable 6.5 game lead.
Over Tampa Bay, 9 over the Red Sox.
And Minnesota, good year, but I'll tell you, the Cleveland Indians are playing really good, surprising ball. 15-38, 5.5 out of first. Houston, and I don't know how they do it. They're 7.5 over Oakland. I mean, Oakland penny pinching every year, and they're competitive. But in the all-important wild card standing, season ended tonight. Tampa's got the first spot, half game up on Cleveland. And behind them is Oakland, game and a half out. Boston, 2 games out.
So the Red Sox are not even
2 games
in the
out.
playoffs.
Right, but I still will bet my life, literally, that Boston will be in the playoffs.
More than I'd bet, but it certainly might happen.
Yeah, and
look forward to that one game do or die playoff.
Today's the 10th. 3 weeks from tonight's the 31st of July, which is
the trading.
Exactly, the trade deadline. The New York Mets have not had a good season. I thought
Citi Field. I see a lot of stories about Citi Field just being a horror. What's the problem with that?
I went to Citi Field 2 years ago to see the Nats.
Okay.
And went to 2 ball games down there.
That stadium gets beat up.
Absolutely beautiful.
Really?
From the outside.
Yeah.
Why? Because they tailored it looking just like Ebbets Field.
Oh, really?
Absolutely gorgeous.
So what's the knock on the actual
I go
field
inside there, and it's very generic. There's just nothing that you go in there and it's like, wow. There's no wow factor. It's the best way.
No,
It did nothing for me.
No, but they patterned it after Ebbets Field.
Outside looks great. And parking lot, plenty of parking. But it's
But boy, I just read horrible things about that stadium.
What do they say?
Just that it's, horrible place to play, but I can't even remember specifics.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and the Mets, of course, so they got their home run guy who won the home run. How did he, again, I paid zero attention to the home run derby.
I don't pay attention.
But
to
Alonso won it, but Olflin Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit 91 homers or something, and still.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't follow. Yeah, it's a break.
The American League won last night. I think 7 straight win for the AL. Are they still hooking the World Series?
No, they stopped that. I think last year.
So who gets the team with the best record? I assume, obviously.
I hope. I think in the old days they would just alternate American National.
Oh, is that right? They would alternate.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. You'd think it'd be the team with the best record.
Yeah. So I don't know that question.
Because that actually gave the All-Star game a slight, you could say, a slight bit of significance.
Yeah. So let's see. Another thing I wanted to point out to you, and I mentioned it to you a few weeks ago, and I remembered it. I said to you, Duke, this is hard to believe, but the relief pitchers, ERA is higher than starting pitching, because a lot of teams have had issues with their bullpen this year. Now, my Washington Nationals, with the big three of Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, and Anibal Sanchez, number 4, is a pretty good pitcher. In all of baseball, they're the third best team with the starters of 3.55. Only the Dodgers and the Rays are above them. But as relief, which caused them all that misery the first month and a half of the season, they are still dead last for bullpen ERA of 6.08. Baltimore holding down the 29th position at 6.06. Wow. Now, for all of Major League Baseball, Duke, the relief pitchers have a 4.4 ERA, and the starters surpassed them. They're better than this bullpen. They're 4.46. So relievers 4.48, starters 4.46. If you told me that would ever happen,
wow.
I mean,
unreal.
That, and the thing too is when you're a relief pitcher, you don't pace yourself. You're going in there and hopefully throwing 13 pitches, and you're just letting it rip. So I have no explanation why this is occurring. This Tyler Thornburg, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, my guess is he will be snapped up within 48 hours by someone. That's how bad.
Again, mark my words. Whoever snaps him up, I bet we'll see this guy pitching decently down the road.
I'll give you a good example. Washington started the season last year with Blake Trinan as the closer. Stunk it up. They cut him in May of last year. Went to Oakland and became one of the top closers in all of baseball last year. It's so fickle when you're dealing with relief pitchers. Well, here's a better example. Part of the Mets' problem is they gave up a lot of prospects to the Seattle Mariners this winter. Remember they traded for Robbie Cano? And Edwin Diaz, who I'm trying to think, he might have had 57 saves last year with the Mariners. He's been horrible with the Mets. I think his ERA's up around 5. Blown a number of saves, and Robbie Cano has been terrible. In fact, they benched him for not hustling.
Did they really?
Yeah, he's turned into a dog. So the Mets haven't performed, and 2 of their pitchers, who I like, and they've had bad years with ERAs over 4.5, is the mighty Thor, Noah Syndergaard, and Zach Wheeler. And I know the Red Sox are kicking the tires as we speak on Zach Wheeler. I think Wheeler will be gone by the 31st. There are a number of teams in the wild card. That's one thing Major League Baseball has done correctly, is get that wild card in there, because it does keep interest in the game until at least mid-September.
Yeah.
So I expect a fair amount of action here leading up to the 31st trade deadline. And our caller, our normal caller every week, he mentioned about a month ago about Anthony Rendon, the third baseman of Washington, and there were a bunch of free agents that were signed during the winter time. They weren't free agents, but before they just signed them, like Mike Trout and guys like that. Well, Anthony Rendon's the best free agent this winter, upcoming winter. And Scott Boras is his agent, and the Nats have been negotiating with him. But Rendon, unlike Harper's 26 years old, won't turn 27 until the end of October. Rendon's already 29, and you tell me, 5 good years left, 34, you might see numbers start going downhill. But I think Boras wants minimum of $30 million, maybe
Really?
7 years for this guy. Yeah. And now that the Nats are in the playoffs now, or at least in the hunt, what do you do with Rendon? I mean, there's got to be a certain point in the next 3 weeks where Washington gives Rendon his final offer, but you're not going to say trade the guy because, again, we're in the playoffs as the season. So they're in a very bad situation.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to sign Harper.
Yeah.
And
They did think that?
Yeah, and I told you the story, and I'm absolutely not upset with the Washington management. Last game of the season, it was a rain delay game. The ownership and general manager came downstairs into Dave Martinez's office, the manager, said, Dave, we need your office here for 10 minutes. They called Harper in, handed him over an envelope, and it had a proposal of 10 years, $300 million. They thought he would take it, and he said, no thanks, we'll check out other teams.
But I don't remember you saying you thought they were going to sign him. I remember you saying you hoped they were going to sign him.
Well,
I guess.
I thought better than 50%. Now, it wasn't a major deal.
Aren't you glad they didn't sign him for
because
megabucks?
I told you last year that the important free agent was Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
And again, I can relate it to the Red Sox for the Red Sox Nation here. Who's more important to the Red Sox? Do you want to put $30 million a year to an outfielder, Mookie Betts? As good as he is, but outfielders are like Tic Tacs. I mean, there's plenty of them in the little container. You got Devers, who's 22 years of age. What's he hitting around, 330? Now? I mean, the guy's going nuts. You got Bogarts that's going to get 100 RBIs as a shortstop. Those guys are your valued players because they are hard to replace. Betts, you're not going to replace them with a player as good as Betts, but you're going to get somebody pretty good, and you're probably going to get somebody at a third of the salary that Betts is going to command. So Harper leaving, fine, and I think Bryce Harper is a star. I don't think he's a superstar, and his batting average last few years has declined, and I don't know why. He's a 277 lifetime hitter now, but after hitting
a 13-year contract,
13 years, $330 million. So, yeah, he'll be 39, and I guess he's probably assuming, which I assume, the CBA ends December 1st, 2021. That the National League will adopt the designated hitter. I haven't heard much or read much about it.
Sorry to hear that.
But I just think that will be part of the negotiations.
So when did you say it expires, Hawk?
December 1st, 2021.
Right on. I've got a front page Globe Sports section story on it today. Yeah,
well,
right on.
There's talk about a strike, about economics, and I'm going to myself, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean, the top players in the NHL, Duke, okay? Yeah. The top players, like a Carey Price, $10 million a year, okay? Yeah. They're getting a third of what baseball players are getting, and I certainly don't have to make much of an argument that hockey's a little bit more difficult of a sport to play than baseball is.
And then, of course, we'll get into basketball later, I assume.
Yeah.
What about for people who just kind of get blown away by the money in baseball, what about basketball?
$40 million contracts a year.
Going back to this is just from this Peter Abraham quoting in the story Tony Clark, as the MLB Players Association guy. This is Clark ticking off a list of concerns shared by the players. We're interested in restoring meaningful free agency. We're interested in getting players something closer to their value as they're producing it. We're interested in ensuring that the best players are on the field at all times. We are interested in improving the dynamic for entry-level players. And we're interested in getting to a point where how our game is marketed and how our game is promoted is something that's more beneficial than where we currently sit. Nothing too dramatic there.
Now, I don't know what you mean by best players on the field. I'm taking a guess where you're putting your best players on the field, the starting 9.
Yeah.
But the end of the bench, instead of signing veteran players for $5 million, you're bringing up minor league players for $550,000. That might be an issue.
Yeah.
So the one thing we have not discussed, since, like you said, I hadn't seen in 3 weeks on the show, is I thought it was somewhat of a silly story about the Tampa Rays going north to Montreal for half a season.
I got into that on my solo show. Yeah, right. Anybody holding their breath about that, give me a break.
It makes no financial sense whatsoever. The mayor of Tampa or St. Pete
said,
good luck. Serious. We have a contract till 2027. Let's see it break the contract.
The aforementioned MLB Players Association, I'm sure they're going to be happy with folks. Hey, folks, just get 2 places to live, one in Tampa, one in Montreal.
That was my thought, is...
What a joke. I can't believe this even got thrown out, and some people seem to take this halfway seriously.
Yeah. Now, the property that Stephen Brofman, who appears to be the new owner of the Expos, Point St. Charles section of Montreal, which I'm not familiar with.
Because the line had been right downtown near the Bell Center, right?
Well, is back
is that history now?
Right, when these Expos were still there. And I remember the press conference. It was called Labatt Park. It was going to be like a 30,000 seat open air ballpark. And Jeffrey Loria, the carpetbagger, who moved the team or went to Florida and destroyed that team. It was a beautiful small ballpark. He paid $1 million to, not a down payment, but just to hold the property.
Yeah.
And that's when all the financial crap hit the fan, and we lost it. But this is going to be a waterfront stadium.
So Point St. Charles, so on the St. Lawrence.
I think it's on the St. Lawrence.
I'll have to look at my minis.
Yeah.
Montreal's got me freed. The traffic situation up there is, again, I used to go to the Montreal Jazz Festival, probably 10, 15 straight years. Probably been 10 or 15 straight I haven't made it. Montreal just has me freaked. The traffic situation sounds so abysmal. I keep playing in my lifetime, praying that Amtrak will finally get the Vermonter back up there. Hasn't happened yet.
Well, I thought I heard a couple of years ago that it was coming
you've been
back.
You've been hearing stories for years. Well, I'll give you 2019. It sounds like there's incredibly slow progress. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah. And I have never done an Amtrak trip. I tell myself every year.
Never been on
Amtrak.
On any train?
I've been on trains before, but not a real Amtrak trip. We're going to point A to point.
DC is a great. I was, when I go down to DC, I fly down and take the train back. Love it. Love trains.
Yeah.
But I'm not on them much.
Yeah, that would look relaxing. So this Montreal thing, I just think they're using the city of Montreal as leverage.
What a joke.
It's nothing more than that. However, the attendance, the bottom 2 teams.
Tampa, 14 something?
Okay, Miami's the 30th, the bottom. They average, as of tonight,
not even 10?
9,402 fans.
Unbelievable.
29th, a good team. Always in the hunt.
Really.
Good young ball players.
A playoff team at this moment.
Playoff team as of this moment, the Tampa Bay Rays.
14 or something?
15,483.
Wow.
Okay.
Unreal.
And it's been low forever with that team.
Yeah.
And it's
Boy, Florida, I'm telling you, talk about a couple of pathetic. As you say, yeah, I mean, geez, just move the franchise to Montreal. Keep them in the AL East. Just sounds like
a natural. And again, I don't know how long Miami can hang on. Derek Jeter is running that ball club right now, and they traded Christian Yelich.
Wow.
Okay.
Really?
Who arguably might be the best player in baseball now. Won the NL MVP last year, and looks like he could do it again this year.
Yeah.
And the main player, I'm trying to remember who. It might have been like a Lorenzo Cain. I know name that you not, but whoever they sent wasn't Lorenzo Cain. I can't think of it right now. But he turned out to be a flop, and that's the way these blue chip, can't miss minor league players are. They get up to the big team and they don't make it all the time.
That's unbelievable. Miami, there got to be some minor league teams, some AAA teams, I would guess, who might be averaging just into 5 figures.
Yeah, in AAA,
so
sure.
Not even 10,000 a game.
Yeah.
For a new stadium that taxpayers
5-6 years old.
Kind enough to somewhat partially at least subsidize.
Yeah. Oh, it was
more than partially.
It was a lot. I mean, that was a major story down in Dade County.
How could they misread the market that badly?
Yeah.
It's not like Miami teams had a history of good attendance or anything.
No.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I was reading about Tampa, like during their good years, they were averaging like 1.5 million people a year.
Yeah.
Well, do the math. That's still only 20,000 people a game. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
And again, I will assert myself by saying we're in our 60s, say we retire and decide move to Florida. You're not going to change your allegiance from the Red Sox. If you want to watch them, you pay $189. You buy your baseball package, and you can watch them every night, DVR them or watch them live, and ditto for me. And I can't believe the folks that leave their states just automatically become a Marlin or a Ray fan. The hockey teams don't draw well either. Tampa's got they had a record season, one of the best all-time regular season. Just an exciting team.
Yeah.
And the Florida Panthers, during free agency a couple weeks ago, they signed...
Picked up one of my guys, Mr. Ocheri.
Right, but they signed one of the top goaltenders, Bob, the Russian Sergei Bob from Columbus. We just call him Bob because we can't pronounce his last name.
The guy who had great postseason.
Yeah, he's really good. So, I don't know how much traction this Montreal-Tampa, but it makes
So even you, that didn't even do much for you then, huh?
I got no rise out of me on this one because, again, it's all about money. Minimum for a small ballpark with no bells and whistles, you're going to be spending $250 million for that. For what, 40 games? That just is not going to work. Now, if Montreal gets a franchise and they're further north, they're on the water, and their cold is a lot colder than our cold. They get that damp cold. Yeah. And this year in St. Albans, what a rainy May, and it was rainy last. You need a roof, a retractable roof for a new Montreal facility that basically will be closed in the month of April and the month of May. And come September, once Labor Day hits, Mother Nature knows temperatures start dropping quite rapidly. Yeah. I personally think a team would make it, just be a top-notch franchise up there.
But even, AL East, I agree with make it. If you're not talking AL East, I wouldn't be so optimistic.
You're going to have an ownership that has deep pockets because the Red Sox spend the most money in baseball. Yankees are always up there as a leading spending team. Yeah. So you're going to have to pay right up to the salary cap to compete against these guys. And of course, other issues you have in Montreal, as you know, is the tax problems, especially in Montreal province, Quebec. And that's why the Canadians generally have a difficult time getting players.
And the Canadian dollar today about 76 cents on the U.S. dollar.
That's been fairly stable.
Yeah, it's been very stable.
A good example of Duke is Duke Forrest is a free agent.
Yeah.
Montreal's bidding out of services, and the Florida Panthers are. Well, what's the state tax in Florida?
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Okay. So
No state income.
when all said and done, compared to Quebec, you're probably getting 20% more income playing for Florida.
Yeah.
And me, as much as I love the Canadians, I wouldn't have a problem playing for the Florida Panthers because you and I are teammates.
Yeah.
We have a 7:00 game. I'll say, hey, Duke, let's go out to the golf course, do a quick 9 at noon time.
Yeah.
Then we'll head over to the arena. So
You're not holding your breath, Hawk. I trust some baseball in Montreal coming back. Give me
in my lifetime.
Well, in fact, how about just go 10 years down the road?
10 years from now, I will look at you.
Your lifetime is way multiples of 10.
And within 10 years,
Yeah.
I give it 100% that the city of Montreal will have the franchise.
God, you give me an official Nighthawk guarantee.
You're being very liberal with me about
100%.
Right.
Why would you ever be that optimistic?
Because these Florida franchises will continue to flounder, and they will have to go somewhere. And I've told you before.
So one of those ends up, hopefully Tampa, obviously.
The city, Major League Baseball, the two largest cities in North America without a franchise. Number one is Mexico City, which is a poverty-ridden city, which the Players Association would never allow a team to go to Mexico.
Insane.
Okay, so the second largest city in North America without a major league team is Montreal.
Is that
Well,
right?
Duke, you and I used to go to a fair amount of ball games in our youth.
Oh, in their day, they had tons
of people. Sure.
30, 40 were up in the in the second deck, the upper deck.
Yep.
Tons of people, but 100% Hawk.
I firmly
how can
believe
you give
that
anything 100%.
Yeah. This is coming from the same guy that said to you that UVM football would be here before St. Albans gets a Walmart.
I almost mentioned that. You just made me think of something. You'll never guess, I was in Costco with my buddy Alex on Monday, and I got a tap on the shoulder. You'll maybe never guess who it was. Someone we dealt with for a good 20 plus years. Anyway, Mr. JOK, Mr. Bo Winchester, John Kimmel.
He's in town?
John was up, yeah.
Oh, I've been meaning to call him.
John was up, and thank you. I told you, I felt bad that his wife Jackie died maybe within the last half year or so.
Yeah. You were away on vacation.
And Leonard, and he said, oh yeah, they told me you were away.
Yeah.
But it was good to see you. Just talked to him briefly. He was with his young lady friend who apparently was a friend of Jackie's.
Good.
But it was good to see him. He's up selling his house in South Burlington, his good old suburban square house.
Yeah.
I would think that'd be
I kind of blew it.
Easy sell.
I should have called him and got him on the show, and we could talk the old WWSR days.
Yeah, I could have thought. I wasn't thinking that fast. But,
I'm dumb because, and I could have got Leonard on here, and we just could have had 90 minutes of reminiscing.
Oh, sorry, I'm the one who saw him. I wasn't thinking that.
And not only that, now that a new WWSR is on the airwaves.
Dude, we talked about that briefly.
It's just automated music right now.
But no, I'm sorry. I should have thought of that myself.
Yeah, and I would have warned the viewers that we're just going to play reminiscing here for the next 90 minutes.
No, we can blame that on me. Although I don't know what his schedule was, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was good to get a glimpse of Mr. I told you, and his brother David, of course, just retired at
July 1st.
Longtime manager at Collins Pearly Sports and Fitness Center.
Yeah, David did a superb job.
Solid.
And I always say it's not easy. It's easy to put a brand new spanking shiny building up.
Yeah.
It's another thing to properly maintain it and finding the funds to do it. And Collins Pearly is close to 35 years old now, too?
Yeah, it might be. 20.
I know it's over 30.
Yeah.
David kept that place in immaculate condition.
Yeah. In fact, it seems like I can recall going from a BFA trustees meeting that I was covering over to Collins Pearly with then headmaster Reg Godin and even putting up a tennis net or something. Yeah, no, you're right. I guess we are probably talking about 30 years or so. Anyway, so Hawk, how about a brief about a trip, Siggy? Or how are things down? You mentioned the rather hot ocean water, but a good cruise.
Oh, it was a family trip.
Family cruise
down there.
Good time?
Yeah, good time, but you just don't want to go. My son-in-law is a school teacher. The grandkids are in school, so I have no other windows to jump through other than the summertime.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of folks go up to Alaska this time of the year because it's not bad, but it's like
place I'd like to go.
It's like going to Alaska in January.
Yeah.
You just don't do it, and it was hotter than hell. I mean, it was hot. And when I jumped in Lake Champlain, like I said, it was like,
It felt pretty good.
To me, a good swim is you have goosebumps after you get out of the water.
Well, Ian, speaking of swimming, Ian, Jennifer, and I, we got some good advice. Montgomery swimming holes are kind of famous, but for some reason I have no history with them. And I had taken one stab with Ian and a friend a couple of years ago, and no trespassing signs were enough to put me off. I guess in the past, a lot of people, this is up in the Trout River as you're heading up to Jay Peak, I guess used to use this, and I guess the property owners, people I'm sure trashing the place.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I happened to stop in the Montgomery Library, which just by luck was open Sunday afternoon. Librarian had no info for me, but fortunately I should have gotten his name, the guy in the Montgomery Planning Commission was at a computer, and I asked him, and he said, go up Route 58 towards Hazen's Notch, and you can park, just go up a short ways and you can get down into the river, or go up a little farther. In fact, I don't think I even want to talk about it anymore as I think about it. It was a beautiful place. Jennifer was a trooper. She broke a toe or two a while ago.
Yeah.
So kind of hobbling in a long walk in and then going down to the river.
Did you jump in?
We found, we swam.
But crystal clear water, right?
Beautiful water.
Much cooler.
Yeah, I mean, cooler than Lake Champlain, but still very swimmable.
Yeah.
Probably mid to high 60s.
Yeah.
But a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah.
So the last few days I've gotten in some good swimming.
Yeah. So
in fact, I was looking forward to the ocean, a Martha's Vineyard trip, but jury duty come. I got to email Clanman and say, Clanman, you may not see me after all.
When did you go to the vineyard?
Well, I was hoping to go in early August, but I've got a jury summons, and you never know how that happens.
I'll be.
You didn't get one, did you?
I'm going to the Cape.
Okay.
July 28th.
Yeah.
For like 5 nights.
Huh. Yeah. Probably the next weekend.
And of course, the news at the Cape, and they're showing.
Sharks.
What do you call those things? That you fly up in the air.
I mean, not.
No, it's remote control.
Oh, sorry, drones.
Drones. Yeah. So they have drones, and they showed on the news last night 2 sharks on the low,
and the ones that kind
playing
of
with each other.
I saw the same.
The Cape with the warmer waters is getting a lot of.
And I guess it sounds like the seals are the biggest issue. I
went on a seal watch a couple of years ago there. And
a seal watch?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're back.
As opposed to a whale watch.
Right, a seal watch,
really?
Yep. And
that sounds like the biggest issue.
And then I remember we were out there and somebody screamed dolphins. And I said, excuse me, dolphins do not venture this far north. Don't, and lo and behold, a bunch of dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's kind of funny if the ocean goes up a degree or two. I mean,
that can change
species
things. Of course, off my beloved Outer Banks of North Carolina, when I bagged radio back in January 2001, went down to the Outer Banks for about 3 months. I'd hit the beach. I was probably walking 15 miles a day on what's usually Dr. Beach, Dr. Stephen. What's his name? Whatever, but AKA Dr. Beach. The Ocracoke Ocean Beach invariably makes the top 10 of his great U.S. beaches, but I saw dolphins 3 out of 4 days anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sharks. Boy, the vineyard doesn't seem to have had the issue, but it's a little, of course, the odds. I read a bunch of shark stories in the Boston papers. I think the chance I saw was to get like one chance in 300 million to get bit by a shark, but still, when you see those stories, and I'm an ocean guy, it's still a little disconcerting.
I like to go out in the ocean, and 90% of people that drown in the ocean is because of the riptide. Drags them out. And
almost happened to one of my best friends.
And they panic. I remember one time I was doing a back float, had my eyes closed and just relaxing for an extended period of time
in the ocean.
And because it takes no effort to float in the ocean.
Yeah.
So, maybe a half hour later, I just opened my eyes.
Did you literally fall asleep?
I didn't fall asleep, but I was just extremely tranquil.
Yeah.
And I said, holy mackerel. a long ways from
Oh, is that right?
from the shore.
Wow.
And fortunately, there was no riptide
Yeah.
there. But of course, they always tell you swim parallel.
Yeah.
Don't panic. Well, don't panic. The first thing is just keep swimming parallel.
Well, I'm sure I mentioned that story maybe a bunch of times. I'm in Florida, late 1990s. I had seen
Yeah,
the
you
day
told me
before
that story. Yeah.
my one game at the Trop. Fortunately, not a baseball game, a Duke Kentucky basketball game. Went over to North Miami Beach. My good Duke friend, Michael Protzel, and they had the caution flags up. But we're on the beach. It's like 80, a lot of wind. I mean, beautiful air temp. We just kind of wander out in the ocean, talking and stuff. And all of a sudden, I realized, hey, we're kind of far out, Mike, and we're over our head at that point, and we're in kind of a. And I mentioned going out. I'm sure I even mentioned, Mike, any rip tide, swim across it and get out of it. But we're out pretty far when we start going in, and we're going against the current. And Mike, I'm a pretty good swimmer. Mike's a decent swimmer, but not great. He just kind of freaked out pretty quickly.
Do you feel it? Do you feel?
No, we didn't.
You don't feel it.
I mean, maybe. Oh, I should say sometimes. Sure, I'll get in the ocean sometimes, and usually it's not going out. Usually it's more often parallel to the beach. Oh yeah, sometimes it's a battle to even walk against it.
Okay.
But this time was very subtle. But we're out of ways, and when we started coming back in, we weren't making much progress, and Mike just kind of got real tired and kind of freaked out pretty quickly. But again, I'm sorry, I probably mentioned this story a bunch of times.
Right, but didn't you get hollered at when you made it back to the beach?
Absolutely, yeah. Fortunately, and my thought was, I understand. Oh, well, I mean, his wife, I think, was just happy to see. I mean, I think eventually people realized we weren't in great shape, but we finally, by encouraging him, grabbing him, we made slow progress. And I'll never forget finally touching sand with my toes when I knew we were okay. But yeah, you're right. I guess rescue people had been belatedly called. So, and Mike was out. I mean, he was exhausted. He was on the beach, probably not moving for like an hour or so. Oh, but the rescue people, I mean, understandably in a way, were all over me. But I felt like saying, gee, I'm sorry, would you have been happier with 2 corpses?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I felt like saying.
Yeah.
But they were bitter. Yeah. But fortunately, Mike survived. I owed him one. He had saved us both going to an ACC tournament game in Greensboro, probably circa 1973.
Okay.
And as I recall pretty vividly, I'm not paying attention. We're getting off of the Greensboro exit coming over from Duke and Durham. And I'm not paying attention, and people stop. Tons of people going to the tournament. Rich! And I'm in the travel lane with just a line of traffic stopped ahead of me, not too far ahead of me. Fortunately, the breakdown lane was open. Without that was anyway. So I owed him one. Sorry, I probably mentioned.
No, that's fine.
But no, sharks have become a story.
Yeah, basketball, our new look. Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I was kind of just blown away by the Celtics' disastrous season, but now I think I'm on the rebound. Especially, I saw a fair amount of Carson Edwards last night. You probably saw
second round pick.
Whole game.
I think he played for Purdue.
Oh, yeah. If you saw the Virginia, did you happen to see the Virginia game?
Did not, but I heard
he had like 43
well.
points.
Yeah,
Virginia had no reason in the world that they should have won that game en route to the national championship.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth.
Yeah.
With football season just a couple months away, I don't have to deal with Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
And
now
basketball is 4 months away, and I don't have to deal with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. Oh, I got all kinds of stuff on Kyrie. But my question is, now that all this is played out, if I'm interviewing Danny Ainge, my first question is, Danny, how lucky do you feel that Kyrie just went away? So you didn't even have to make a decision on him. And if he had wanted to stay around, you're telling me you would have paid this guy mega buckos?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Yeah. And did anybody ask him that question?
No.
Is that what he would have done?
I think,
and why?
Off the record.
Of course, if Nick were here, Nick would be a dissenting voice, but he's not here.
If you got Danny Ainge in the back room and said, really, really off the record, this Kemba Walker.
You would say, we got a break.
I remember I think I was still watching college basketball back
UConn,
then.
great
UConn,
college player.
just a really
Probably beat the Dukies at least one championship.
top-notch leadership, and
Keeps his mouth shut. A kind of a quiet guy, but a quiet leader.
the whole thing with the Celtics is this.
Al Horford was kind of the punch in the gut, I guess.
Yeah.
Forget Kyrie.
Is we drafted Jason Tatum in the year before
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown. Brown was the number 3 pick overall, and Tatum was the number 2 pick overall. Okay, these guys have to touch the ball.
Yeah.
They have to have the opportunity to succeed or fail. Now, I've read a lot that.
And at worst, they went sideways last year.
That's a good way.
They
said Tatum, was okay, but I watched
got
it
on their cases, I guess.
Kyrie had the ball, didn't share the ball, and again, as a one-on-one player, one of the all-time greats. I mean, I've never seen a player finish the hoop as good as Kyrie.
Yeah.
Good luck in Brooklyn. But the new look Celtics is you're going to have Enes Kanter, who they signed.
Sounds like he meant nothing to me, but that sounds like a decent pickup.
Yeah. Do you know where I had to look it up? Do you know where he played his college ball?
I'm sure I read that, but
I literally had to look Kentucky.
Oh, he did play at Kentucky?
No recollection. I'm sure
Maybe I didn't read
him
that.
being at Kentucky is a one and done.
No, that sounds like
certainly
a decent
more than
pickup.
a serviceable center.
Yeah.
And they re-signed backup Daniel Theis, who really runs the court well.
Yeah.
So it's a two-headed center. And in this day and age of basketball, centers don't play a prominent role like they did back in the day.
Yeah.
So you've got those guys at center. You've got Gordon Hayward and Jason Tatum at forwards. In the backcourt, Walker, who had a great career with Charlotte.
And boy, maybe one of the Rooks.
And Jason Brown.
Or Jaylen Brown
will
with
be
one of the Rooks, maybe number 3.
But the 3 rookies, and the Celtics.
Actually, 4. They signed four guys, actually.
So they've got Grant Williams was their first
sounds
pick.
pretty solid.
No, Romeo Langford out of Indiana. And one thing I
a little
learned.
Questionable. I mean, not a shooter, but he had a hand
I learned from
injury.
Jay Bias,
Jay Billis,
who is a super smart.
Dookie
Doesn't get overly excitable.
Yeah.
And watching the draft, he says you can't take too much stock into what they do their freshman year.
Yeah.
I said they're 18 years old. To me, you have to be a true talent scout to say this guy has the ability to progress, or this guy's kind of panned. They've got 3 decent players. I don't know if they're going to turn into stars, but this Grant Williams,
he sounds very solid.
It's like an Albert Einstein from right here.
Player of the year, 2 straight years. Real smart guy.
An extremely intelligent guy. He'll
not afraid to open his mouth in a good way.
Right. So you've got those 6 guys starting, again, Kanter and Theis at center.
Yeah.
So your backups will be the 3 rookies, Edwards, Williams, Langford.
And then
there's
a 4th rookie also. They signed 4 guys.
Right.
One of those guys probably not going to be on the parent club.
You got Robert Williams III, who I absolutely love. I think this guy is going to be a good player. They got last year Semi Ojeleye. They've got and
defense.
The other guy, I don't know if this is the 4th guy you're talking about.
Well, they drafted 4 guys. The 4th guy was out of LSU. They're I think a 2nd round pick, and he may, but they drafted 4 guys
in their camp, their summer camp right now.
Yeah.
They have Mr. Taco Fall.
Oh, they got Taco, who almost beat my Dukies with Johnny Dawkins.
He's from Senegal. Played basketball, University of Central Florida.
Yeah.
He measures
Johnny Dawkins
7 feet 7 inches.
Yeah.
And they say, now I haven't watched any summer league games.
How about forget dunking? How about
he just did a hop, just a tiny little baby hop to dunk the ball.
I think that was a great signing.
But they did the what's his name? The baby elephant, Yabashali. They cut him today.
Oh, they did cut him.
Yeah.
He hadn't been looking too good.
No.
Cut him.
I don't have a problem having a 7 foot player at the end of my bench that you can put in certain situations.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think I read somewhere that he's one of the tallest people in the whole world.
Yeah, that's probably not too far off.
Yeah. So again, Tatum and Brown are going to get a chance to shine, and Gordon Hayward. And I'll take David Handy's word that it takes 2 years to come back from a broken ankle. And I think Paul George, who just signed with the Clippers, took him 2 years, and he's one of the better all-around players. So I think the Celtics are in great shape. The Toronto Raptors are just a shadow of themselves of what they were 3 weeks ago. You had Kawhi Leonard signing with the Clippers. Danny Green, I think, signed with the Lakers. So there's been a ton of movement around. Jimmy Butler left the Sixers.
As did my man JJ. But the Sixers are still, I think some people think they're, well, we'll see. I mean, Ben Simmons, he has his strengths, but the guy can't shoot.
Ben Simmons.
Joel Embiid sure seems to get a lot of injuries.
He's very immature.
I'm not totally sold on the Sixers.
The Sixers, on paper.
Of course, they got our guy Allen.
Right. Might be the best defensive team in basketball. Now, Embiid is one of the top players, very immature.
But Horford may be a very good influence on him.
Yeah. But in J.J. Redick, who's all of 35 now,
is he really?
He's had a solid career, and he's the type of guy I wouldn't mind it having on Celtics just for his veteran presence. I'm not sure, did he sign with
the Pelicans? I give you Duke South, Zion, J.J., and Brandon Ingram.
Speaking
of New Orleans, I think there's a hurricane watch there.
Yes, there is.
This tropical depression or storm seem to come out of almost nowhere.
Yeah, and I saw an old Dookie, a guy that has not had a good pro career. He was a one-and-doneer at Duke, as Jabari Parker.
She is very, very disappointing.
He just signed a kind of a almost minimum wage contract.
Boy, talk about a highly touted guy.
Yeah, so there's been a ton of movement that would take me all night to go through all that. But Celtics favored to win the East Conference? Of course not. I agree with this. Sixers look like the team to beat.
But go back to Al Horford, Hawk. Didn't you? We talked about that before this all played out. Didn't you think? I mean, didn't you have about zero concern he was going to move on? I mean, your line was, I guess everybody's line was, well, he's not going to accept the team option or whatever, but he'll look for a longer contract. But weren't you very confident the Celtics would keep him?
It was zero concern.
So that was
he had
news.
1 year left on his contract of about $30 million.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And how old is he? 31? He's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
And what I thought Celtics were going to do is just give him a 4-year, $100 million contract. Now, I think he signed with the Sixers.
Isn't it 4 years, 120 or something?
Yeah, about 110, 115. So
a little less.
But I don't know if he was disenchanted with the team. I really don't know.
I don't blame him if he was, given Kyrie's antics.
Yeah.
I mean, what a horrible year. I don't blame him if he was. And he keeps his mouth.
Terry Rozier, who I like, but he didn't have a good year, and he didn't look like
I'm not paying Terry
fun guy to have in the locker room.
Not with Kemba. If you got Kemba. Coming up with Kemba, I mean, that pretty much came out of the blue, pretty much.
Yeah, and I like what they did. They did a sign and trade where I think each player signed with their team. Walker with the Hornets, Rozier with the Celtics. That way they could max out their contract. But
the Kyrie thing, I'd love to have a real off the record conversation with Danny Ainge. Danny, are you serious? I mean, the line was, the Celtics, what a blow. Kyrie's leaving. And what a blow. Yeah, tell me about it. What a joke. But that would seem to be the line.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you would have paid this guy $1 gazillion? Can I read you a little bit of this?
Yeah, please.
This is Chad Finn, who does a lot of basketball reporting for the Globe, just a couple days ago. Dear Nets fans, a word of warning. I was going to open this helpful explainer warning about how the Kyrie Irving experience is going to go for you Brooklyn Nets fans with a joke about how the Nets don't actually have fans other than the occasional hipster in a Yinka Dare jersey, but that wouldn't be fair or accurate anyway. Besides, we here in Boston know your NBA bona fides are legit. Back in January and again in March, you taunted the Celtics with Kyrie is leaving chants. They were hurtful and annoying, and damned if they weren't accurate. We have no choice but to respect the quality mockery, especially since he didn't just leave, he joined your team. So out of respect and good sportsmanship, allow us to tell you something about Kyrie that we know will come true, even if it will be hard for you to believe now. This is going to end badly and much sooner than you think. I'll stop there. On the jump page, he gets into, had Kyrie stayed at Duke a little longer, you can be sure in the second year he would have been going down to Chapel Hill and jumping in with the hated Tar Heels.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is the Nets opened up their checkbook for Irving, and they had a good. They got a good year. KD. They got a very good year out of D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah,
that was a top pick for the Lakers a few years ago. He got traded over the Nets, and the kid just kept improving.
Yeah.
I would have had no problem with him. Now, perhaps the key to getting Durant was they were going to have to get Irving there. So, of course, Durant signs with the Nets.
They went together.
And that, of
course, KD won't be playing basketball anytime soon.
Right, he won't be playing this upcoming season.
Boy, they got to be hoping that Kyrie and KD are just click. I mean, I don't believe this for a second. I mean, even if they're good buddies, I don't trust Kyrie for one second.
Well,
I don't care how good a player he is.
He didn't get along with LeBron, and as obnoxious as LeBron can be, I've never heard a player say nothing nasty about him other than Kyrie.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely going to be an interesting season.
So Kawhi Leonard, that was interesting, huh? I mean, it seemed to be
he was close to signing with Toronto, but to get Paul George to go with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this league has turned. If they can get their buddies to go with them, they'll easily leave a team.
Well, kudos to old friend Doc Rivers and stuff. It seemed to be, Lakers in Toronto, and I'd occasionally heard way in third place, maybe the Clippers, who kept their mouths shut. And it's
exactly what the NBA wants, because the two top teams on paper right now, the Lakers and the Clippers.
I guess.
Showtime, baby. Yeah. And of course, the ugly duckling out of the summer is the New York Knicks. They signed some veteran serviceable bodies, but they didn't sign any superstars. They were hoping to get Durant and Kyrie to go to them instead of Brooklyn.
Yeah, they got my man RJ. Boy, RJ Barrett, I hope he does well. If he does well, they'll love him in New York. If he doesn't, it could be a tough time. But the Knicks didn't come up big. This is a headline in today's Wall Street Journal, Hawk. Does a good job on sports. How NBA free agency, which we were talking about, dunked on baseball. I mean, usually baseball coming up to the All-Star game, baseball's the story. The NBA's been, the Kawhi Leonard thing, hasn't baseball been for a lot of people just like an afterthought?
NBA
of course, I could throw in women's world soccer, but something tells me you don't want to. I'm sure Megan Rapinoe is one of your favorite people.
She was on with Anderson Cooper.
I almost didn't want to bring it up.
And started
I'm sure.
the usual liberal crap about the president.
If you can forget that, and I'm sure you can, but the team, this was a heck of a team. This was a good run. I guess you don't.
My issue with them is the politics. Equal pay. There's not one girl on that team that would make the men. When it comes to sports, if I'm working with a woman in an office, we're doing the same exact thing. Absolutely equal pay, no problem.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sports, and I was ready, I wasn't going to bring it up, perchance brought it up. Remember about 10, 12 years ago, the best woman golfer, I think she was from Sweden, Annika Sorensson?
Yeah, Sorensson.
She played in a men's tournament. Do you remember where she finished in that tournament?
I suspect not too well.
Second to last place. Yeah. And she is one of the all-time great women. Now, I said this many times on the show, the biggest problem with women's sports are women not supporting women's sports. The Professional Women's Hockey League, nobody knows about it, but they went under.
I literally don't even know about it.
They went under after the season.
And basketball gets some attention. I pay WNBA. I don't know.
Most of those tickets are comp tickets. The NBA supports them, but
for that matter, the LPGA is certainly not having.
Right, and we'll talk Wimbledon if we get time a little later. I still have an issue with men have to win 3 sets and women 2. I mean, to me, that's almost like belittling women that you don't have the strength or the endurance to win 3. I mean, that is such a passe thing. But yeah,
anyway,
well, just too much politics for me with the women's soccer for me to embrace it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I hear you.
I love politics. I love sports, but just don't put them together.
Right. I hear you, and I understand your viewpoint. Aside from that, I don't get bogged down in that. I hear you, but this is some great soccer. I mean, the women's team was great. This is some great stuff, and talk about a ton of fans getting into this big time. Yeah. And they had their ticker tape parade today in the Canyons of Heroes and whatever Manhattan,
New York. So all I can say,
I'm a little sympathetic. I hear what you're saying about money. I'm a little sympathetic when these guys, world champs, the men didn't even qualify for the World Cup the other day. The men are a joke pretty much.
But the women had a head start.
They're getting about, I'm not sure they're getting more than a third of what the men make.
But they had a head start worldwide because women had more rights, etc., in this country versus women across the rest of the world.
That could be.
And that's the reason why.
I'm certainly somewhat sympathetic to their saying, hey, pay us some more bucks, people.
Yeah, but my all-time greatest line, and I've told you this numerous times, is when Michael Jordan was being criticized about not taking any political stand, and he said, and I quote, Republicans buy sneakers too.
That's a great line.
The guy, a simple quote like that showed you his genius.
Yeah.
So, and LeBron has turned people off with his
Tiger Woods. Tiger hasn't exactly immersed himself.
Tiger Woods has been absolutely. He is not tarnished his brand in that venture. So
speaking of golf for a second, I got a trip. If you can get this right, I'll be really impressed.
Okay. I'm not a golf expert.
Give me the last 2 winners of these are the main PGA events. Give me the last 2 winners and the names of the tourneys.
Well, I've been on vacation, so I hadn't watched any.
Even if you haven't been.
But I will tell you this. Yeah. Didn't somebody beat DeChambeau?
Bryson DeChambeau came close to winning the last one.
Right.
The winner of that tournament, this was the inaugural 3M Open tourney near Minneapolis. They give you Matthew Wolff in all of his 3rd start on the tour.
How old? 21?
21.
Incredible.
Matthew Wolff, and I don't think you're going to get in the week before, and this is at a Detroit Golf Club, the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I'm sure you would have come up with that, right? I had literally never heard of this guy. Nate Lashley won the week before. Okay. So the last 2 winners
Do you recall who he beat?
PGA Tour. Well, I got a story. I think there are a lot of names that weren't exactly big names. I don't think there was a Bryson DeChambeau who came close to him, but I don't have that in front of me. Yeah. Anyway, but we do have the Open Championship starting a week from tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
At Royal Portrush, which is great. My man Graham McDowell's out of Northern Ireland, as is Rory McIlroy.
Why do you like Graham McDowell so much? You mentioned his name quite a bit. I
just like him. He'll be great on TV. He's after his career's over. I just like the guy, and in part because of his one major, the 2011 U.S. Open win at Pebble Beach, where they were back for the first time since he won the Open in 2011. But just a gritty was weather he probably loved. He grew up in. Yeah. Just rainy, cold. I think he won with, I'm not even sure he was under par, maybe like an even par, 1 or 2 over. I just like him. I mean, just from interviews and stuff. Yeah. And I see him every year pretty much. At Hilton Head, he's won there before. Just seems like a real good guy to me.
The Open is being played where?
Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
And I think they do their rotation.
Help me with my politics. Was that the Protestants in Northern Ireland? Remember back in the 70s?
Just so the
Protestants and the Catholics.
I love the kind of the quiet name they give that, the Troubles. We're talking IRA and stuff. Yeah. We're talking decades of violence, which now seemingly is pretty much gone away. Yeah, it's in Northern Ireland. So a week from tomorrow. Yeah. And of course, what's a little weird is that's the last major, of course, because the PGA, of course, moved up
back
to
in May. Yeah. Yeah. So now one thing, and I hadn't gotten into it yet, but I did see a headline that John Daly, who did win the tournament, and he's got a lifetime exemption, they will not let him use a golf cart.
I did see the headline.
So he's not playing.
In fact, if you're looking for a John Daly book, I literally bought some books over to the St. Albans Library on Tuesday when they have their great bookseller day. Load up a a bag of books for $3, but John Daly, his golf book was one of the ones I brought back over there. I saw that I'm not real comfortable with them giving, because that happened a month or two ago. They gave somebody an exemption.
Yeah.
And some of his fellow players weren't happy.
And he's such a nice guy, John Daly. He's just a next door neighbor, have a beer, literally
or
type
two
of
or
guy.
three.
Or three, yeah, four.
Cigarettes if you smoke.
I just wonder if now, being in his 50s, or is it going to happen when he's in his 70s in his deathbed, that he's going to regret just not taking care of himself, because there's absolutely no question about the talent that this guy had.
I mean, two majors. Of course, his first one, the PGA, was unreal. He was an alternate. I think he drove all night to get there. When he got a late call, hey buddy, you're the last guy in the field, and he wins the thing.
Yeah, and he was kind of like the first of the real big hitters. Now everybody works out, and everybody's got a 30-inch waist, and everybody can hit the ball 300 plus yards now. But he was the originator.
Yeah. I feel bad for him, but I'm just not real happy with that exemption. It just seems like it's
part of the game, dude.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of golf is, for people who don't play golf, oh, gee, what an easy game. You get up and hit the ball. You don't have anybody harassing you. Yeah, you get a hot day. You're walking 18 holes on a 90-degree summer day. That's no walk in the park.
Say you and I played, and I will say you're a little bit better shape than I am. But if we went out, played even today at Champlain, 18 holes walking, and just say I was a couple strokes ahead of you on the turn. Okay, back of your mind, you would never be mean and say it to me, but you would say, that fat bastard's going to wilt on the back 9.
18 holes would be tough.
Right, and probably by the 13th hole, I would, and what happens for the non-golfers out there, when your body gets tired, your movement leaves you, and you're just doing a lot of arm swinging.
No, I think that's such a key part. I feel bad for John Daly and stuff, but no, I totally think they can't give exemptions to people. Either walk or don't play.
Because, when I watch old golf film from the 60s, I mean, people didn't look like you. They looked more like me back in the 60s. They had a little gut going on them and stuff. And, of course, Jack Nicklaus' nickname was Fat Jack. I mean, he was one big boy. Lee Trevino had a gut on him. Charles Cootie, just guys, they didn't know the only Jim they knew was their buddy across the street named Jim. They never did.
And these days, just about every pro is in just unreal shape.
Tiger Woods, I mentioned 30, the guys, all these guys, and I see these guys, and how do they hit it so far? And, I can't remember the name, but the guy on the PGA Tour is about 145 pounds, and he was hitting the ball over 300 yards. And they've learned the science of it and what the body needs to do in order to hit the ball so far. So, but you're absolutely right. Part of the game of golf is dealing with the heat. And my buddy Joe and I will golf. I literally will play my best golf in October, in November, because you know me, I don't like hot weather.
Perfect day is what, maybe like 50 or
50 degrees to me is a perfect day. And I'll wear shorts until about 50 degrees. But I mean, there's been days earlier this year, and what we do, we play 9 holes. An evening, four evenings a week.
I do hope to join you once
Sunday.
In a while.
Hopefully we'll see you Sunday. And there's been a few times where I say, oh boy, it doesn't even feel like we golfed tonight. I certainly easily go for another 9. And there's been other nights, I'll be playing tomorrow night if it's not raining, where boy, oh boy, you can't wait to get the 9 done just because it's so darn hot. And as you know, most people, for whatever reason, they use golf carts. And to me, the best part of golf, A, is the walk, B, is the camaraderie. I enjoy talking with you during a round of golf, regardless of the topic. But if you and I were sharing a cart, you hit the ball there, and I hit the ball there, I drop you off and say, Duke, you're not sure what club, grab 2 of them, I'll be back. And it's just, I don't like that.
I hope I have a bunch more years of walking left. I can't imagine, walking school.
And it's easy for me to say, but I would dare say at this point that the moment I would have to use a golf cart. I would just say, thank you. It's been a good life playing. And
so to the PGA, again, they gave, I forget who it was, they gave whoever was an exemption.
well, I thought Daly asked for an exemption earlier this year.
No, but maybe he did, but they let somebody use a cart. Did they say why they let somebody else and not Daly?
I don't know.
But I think they can't go down that road.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the floodgates will open.
Walking is it's a huge part. It's a huge part of it.
I mean, they may have some type of neurological disease, unfortunate. But then again, Joe Blow is going to come and have an X-ray. I have a bad knee, a torn meniscal, whatever, and I can't walk.
You can't. They can't.
And then you start getting discrimination lawsuits.
No, I was surprised.
And again, it's just part of the game.
They got a bunch of grief from some of the players when they gave whoever that was an exemption a while ago.
Yeah. So I've got to ask you a football question, and you probably know more about it than me. I read briefly that Gronkowski was working out with Tom Brady recently, and he's lost 20 pounds. And I'm reading he might be in a position to change his mind.
But this is just people's
speculation, pure speculation.
It's a bunch
and
of
I can understand the physical torment he's gone through during his whole career, where he said, after the Super Bowl, I'm done. But the Super Bowl's been about 5 months now, and maybe mentally, he just was relieved, I'm not a football player anymore. But now that we're literally 2 weeks away from training camp, and the Patriots still the best team in football until somebody dethrones them,
you got a good team.
That he can say, boy, we got a great running game. Tom hasn't slipped a bit. Defense is better than normal.
I don't buy it for a second. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, as a huge Patriots guy, would I love Gronk, even if he shows up like halfway through for the playoffs almost.
Right, because I really question how much training camp, and Tom Brady may not even do a snap.
He didn't, of course, Tom didn't do the OTAs.
Right, didn't show up, and what's he going to get out of an OTA? But I can see Gronk showing up a couple weeks beforehand, as long as the physician looks at him, says you're in good shape. And
given the beating, if I'm Gronk, why? I mean, he still seems like he can walk away and not be hobbling around for the rest of his life. As we've talked about, it sounds like he's as good a money person as anybody out there.
Well, I heard a couple years ago
that he's never spent
spent a nickel of his paycheck. Everything he spent has been endorsement money.
And endorsements? And I think that money's going to stop.
And I think the vehicle he drives is an old beat-up pickup truck.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And tell me endorsements are going to stop. I suspect he'll still have a very good, annual income.
I'll tell you what, the most important thing when you're running for political office is likability factor. People really don't know issues anymore. It's all about likability issues, okay? It's all about what do you see on the screen. And you cannot find a more likable person than Rob Gronkowski. And I'm sorry, I could sit here till midnight. I can't think of one negative thing that's ever happened to this guy. And he plays the game like a 11-year-old would play the game, just for the fun of the game.
But I can't, I mean, I haven't seen a story like that. I did see a little clip of him. I don't know where it was, but I just don't believe it. I mean, the guy seems to have most of his health and stuff. Why would he chance anything? But we'll see, but I'll believe it only if he shows up.
And it appears that him and Brady have a genuine friendship.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, but geez, Hawk, of course, you're the football guy. We're talking just like a couple weeks away now.
Or might even be a week and a half away.
Is that
yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah. This is everybody starting to come to game. I mean, the first games are like mid to late.
August 2nd is
the first regular season is like Labor or September 7 or something.
Yeah, August 2nd, I believe, is the Canton Hall of Fame game. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's the 10th already of July, and again, this weekend is the halfway point of summer. So if you hadn't done something, you better do it pretty quick.
July 1st, of course, the halfway point of the year. Probably no reason to think Daniel Brown. I mean, no Daniel Jones. No news at this.
No, all I can say is even the pundits, from what I read, are surprised how good he looked during these OTAs. And I know there are OTAs and stuff, but we're talking about a person with high vastly above average intelligence.
Yeah, no, he's a
And
smart kid, great size. He's got some things going
spent,
for him.
3 years at Duke, and I'll say it to my last bated breath. I think Daniel Jones got a better football education from Duke playing on mediocre football teams than Dwayne Haskins being a one-year starter for a machine called Ohio State, because every quarterback that goes through Ohio State is a top-notch college quarterback.
Yeah, they haven't done
Then
well.
I ask you, how many great Ohio State quarterbacks do you have in the NFL?
Talking
I can't think of one.
Yeah.
I mean,
and of
it's a
course,
football
Jones
factory.
Did have Coach David Cutcliffe, a good coach.
Yes.
What's Eli? Eli doesn't seem to be real thrilled about this. Maybe why would he? Has Eli said much of anything?
He's too classy of a guy.
I'm not going to say.
But if anybody should understand the situation, it's Eli, because when he got drafted first overall by the San Diego Chargers, and then refused, him and his team, that I am not going to play in San Diego. That would never happen with me, because I'm a New York Giant guy. But my second choice would be, I'd be playing for San Diego. But anyway, so they traded the rights to New York. The Giants went and drafted, they had the 4th overall pick. They picked Phillip Rivers out of North Carolina State. And
right, so he might have moved on by then, but originally North Carolina State. Didn't he end up at Wisconsin? I think Rivers? Of those. NC State's had some guys who moved on. Maybe not Rivers. Did he stay there? One of the last guys started at NC State and moved to Wisconsin. But anyway.
Now, the Chargers wanted...
I guess he did stay.
They wanted Rivers. If the Giants were not going to get Eli Manning, their man was from Louisville, Big Ben Roethlisberger. That was their guy. But Ernie Accorsi, then general manager of the Giants, was in love with Eli Manning. Pedigree was there. We want him. So they ended up trading the guy they just drafted, Phillip Rivers, a first-round pick, and a couple draft picks. That first-round pick the following year had a very good, all but brief career. Sean Merriman, remember him?
I remember.
2, 3-time All-Pro. He just tore his knee to shreds. He didn't have a long career. One of their other draft picks they got from the Giants, they drafted a kicker, had an outstanding career, Nate Keating. So I guess it was a fair trade. Phillip Rivers has top 10 stats all the time.
Phillip did States.
The difference is Phillip Rivers, and I like Phillip Rivers a lot,
I like him.
Doesn't wear a ring. Eli Manning wears 2 rings. Now,
I recall those rings.
There's been talk about Eli being in the Hall of Fame, and I think the numbers bear it out, 2 rings. However, the last few years, they've been playing very sub-500 football. And I think that he's on the verge of having a losing regular season record.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but
the two
people that don't
take 2 Super Bowls away from him.
And again, those 2 Super Bowls, they arguably beat the greatest team of all time.
The Pats were undefeated. One of them
16-0 New England Patriots.
Or 16-0, then what? 19-0 at the time of the Super Bowl.
Right, exactly. 19-0 going into the Super Bowl, and I can't remember, the spread might have been 10.5.
Was it that?
And I told you, Duke, all I wanted, we're not going to beat you. As much as I run my mouth, I said we're not going to win. I just want to beat the spread. Be respectful. And
I'm sure a good friend, Mr. Dave Handy, maybe it was the next Giants.
I remember. Duke, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about.
Don't even. Right.
So that certainly has some credence. But the Giants, and I said last year, we're not going to turn this horrid offensive line around into one of the best. Just give me an average offensive line. I think the Giants now have at least the 15th best offensive line in football.
So what's your record? What do you put their record?
I'm very vanilla. I'm going to 8-8. But one point I forgot about Eli Manning, as I was saying, he forced the trade to New York. Now, he was a rookie, and what did the New York Giants do? They brought in from the St. Louis Rams a future Hall of Famer by the name of Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner started the first 9 games. Kurt Warner actually played pretty good. They were 5-4, still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
And they decided, we put all our eggs in this basket here called Manning. They benched Warner, and they finished out the season with Eli Manning, which played, 14 consecutive seasons without missing a game until the coach, Ben McAdoo, sat him down like in game 14 a couple years ago.
Can you believe that?
He was fired, McAdoo. And of course, if you remember, Kurt Warner went to the
durability impresses me. That's unreal.
I think Warner went to Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. I might be. I think he led Arizona to the Super Bowl. But anyway, he had a good tenure with the Cards. So, but yeah, I mean, training camp's over. But I do like Daniel Jones. Now, if you're a general manager, Giants are picking 6, you're not going to think we're going to be back in the same draft position next year. There are 3 top-notch quarterbacks coming out of the college this year. I mean, 3 really top-notch. The kid from Alabama that I can't pronounce his name, the Hawaiian kid. The long hair from Clemson. Trevor Jake something, I can't remember. And the other one that surprisingly did not jump to the draft this year.
Out of Oregon?
Drew Hebert.
Out of Oregon.
Yeah. So those 3 kids, unless they get hurt, will be picked in the top 5 picks. Now, a team like Miami, I thought for sure they can get away with tanking the season to get one of these 3 guys. Lo and behold, they pull off the Josh Rosen trade, which and they didn't give up very much to get Rosen because
that's a great
Arizona had the first overall pick by taking Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma. So
that's a great
that was a great pick because I would have
been unhappy if the Patriots had done.
I would have would they give up the 2nd round pick to get Rosen?
Certainly nothing higher than the
and I
2nd
think
round.
Rosen was like the 10th overall pick last year. And
that's great.
I would have loved to keep my 6th pick and take Rosen because he's got a really strong arm. But and again, with Daniel Jones, their 2nd pick was 21st. So you're talking less than the half round here.
Or the Giants' 2nd pick?
Yeah, they had the 20.
I thought they had 16.
No. Was it 16?
I thought they had 6 because everybody was saying, why pick him at 16?
Well, 16 maybe? Okay, we'll just say mid-7, right.
I think it was 16.
And Washington ended up taking Dwayne Haskins around 14, 15. But if that's the quarterback of the Giants, don't worry about a 3rd of a round. Take him. Now, is he going to be a great quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. And I told you before, I read some stat of all first-round quarterbacks since 1995, 28% of them turned out, whatever gauge they were using, turned out to be a successful quarterback.
Is that right? Just about a quarter.
Well, look at RG3. Washington, maybe 5 years ago, and that good rookie season and flamed out. I mean, there's just a ton of these first-rounders.
Can I mention a quick non-sports thing? I've been all over National Geographic Channel this week.
I watched
watched some great stuff.
The moon.
We're just we're 10 days away from the 50th anniversary.
Thanks for
some great programs.
Yes.
A controversy about who's going to be the first guy to step on the moon, Neil or Buzz Aldrin. And I guess this was a controversy within NASA, but Neil was made the commander of the LEM, and he was closer to the ladder or whatever. So, but there's been some great stuff.
Yeah, I think Buzz tried to trick him into switching seats so he could. But I can tell you, last night I recorded and watched CNN had a 2-hour, and it was kind of dry, but it was interesting. It was no narration, just footage from the and PBS. What's today? Wednesday. I think part 3 tonight. It's a 6-hour series.
That's a lot of the stations have been doing.
Right. And if you miss it, just check your guide.
National Geographic's had some great.
And National Geographic has a 2-hour one, which I missed the original, but I've got it set up to record 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
And of course, they had the Challenger. Boy, talk about some painful.
Yeah. And of course, 1969.
Not to mention Gus Grissom and his 2 guys.
Gus Grissom.
Hear that they were saying they thought that whatever they were in was a piece of blank and stuff, and I guess they were right. He had huge concerns about the capsule.
That was 1965.
Was that 65?
Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee.
Yeah, good job. Sorry.
Because back in the 60s, and I'm no space expert,
Yeah.
but NASA was in the news. It was such a big thing. And again, they'd like to talk about the science, but being a political scientist at age 11, I knew it was us versus the Ruskies.
Yeah.
It was all about beating the Russians.
But yeah, the fire that killed those three guys.
So that happened, I think,
Here.
And Ed White, part of the trivia, was the first man ever to do a spacewalk.
Okay, we're down to about 25 seconds.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Sorry to get off on space.
Okay, I was going to talk some
Wimbledon,
hockey.
some good Wimbledon.
So,
most of the heavy hitters are still around.
Okay, hopefully I'll see you Sunday at golf. That concludes this edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. For my good pal, the Duke, Mr. Zach, I am the Nighthawk, and until Wednesday night, everyone, have a good week. Ciao.
See ya. Sorry to steal some sports show. I thought it was worth throwing in. Got it.